All right, Ronan, thanks for joining us. And we've seen this sort of piecemeal approach, a string of accusations against Suu Kyi, and then these trials, 4 years in prison there, now 5 more years added to that, some of them served concurrently. Why are they doing it this way, and what is the regime trying to show?
Well, they want to continually tell the people of Myanmar that Aung San Suu Kyi is in jail and that she'll be staying in jail and that they shouldn't expect their leader to be released from jail anytime soon. So this is a strategy on the part of the Myanmar military, and they'll continue to do this. So they'll continue to run a sham legal process and, of course, find her guilty and use those guilty announcements as a means of communicating with the people of Myanmar that they will not be releasing Aung San Suu Kyi from jail. Now, this is a mistake, I think, on the part of the Myanmar military. I mean, they're a hierarchical organisation. They do not understand that opposition to the coup is quite diverse within Myanmar. Aung San Suu Kyi is not the only leader of the anti-coup movement, far from it. I mean, Myanmar's 50 million people are united against military rule. But the military don't understand that. They're incredibly hierarchical, they're very insular, and they don't understand that the people might have a different way of organising themselves. And that's why we see their focus on Aung San Suu Kyi.
So for a year now, we've been hearing people's concerns around the world that Myanmar is headed to civil war. Just today we heard an analyst say that low-key it's already a civil war. What do you think the status is of the opposition currently there?
Well, the opposition's getting organised. I mean, it is a civil war. It's clear that there's live conflict around the country. Ethnic armed groups have been in conflict with Myanmar's military more or less since independence in the late 1940s. But there's very well organised defence. It's a defence movement, a defence movement that's organised on the part of the alternate government of Myanmar, and it's a People's Defence Force. And they claim and they say that they're organising a defensive war against the Myanmar military. There's live conflict, and there have been reversals imposed on the Myanmar military in various parts of the country. This is by no means a situation where the Myanmar military controls the country. I think it's fair to say that they're dominating the major urban centres. But once you leave Yangon or Mandalay, the big urban centres, the Myanmar military's control becomes much more scarce. I mean, this is a country that's, I think, on the cusp of a humanitarian crisis. The UN already tells us that about 1/3 of the people in Myanmar are in immediate need of humanitarian assistance. I mean, this is a civil war, and this is a national catastrophe within Myanmar.
Now, Suu Kyi, of course, is a controversial figure in the past few years because she was leader when the genocide happened to the Rohingya people. How does that affect public opinion surrounding this? And, you know, the fact that they're putting her in prison now, do people still feel as much outrage as they would have before all of that happened?
I think some elements of that have been put aside. I won't say forgotten, but certainly put aside domestically while they're fighting the Myanmar military since the coup. There's been a change in terms of the domestic politics within Myanmar. The opposition is, I think, much more willing to talk about the Rohingya, talk about human rights, and talk about mistakes that were made. That's a big change. I mean, it's a very small change, but it's a seismic shift in terms of the politics within Myanmar. Internationally, I mean, the shine very much came off Aung San Suu Kyi because of her inaction when the Rohingya were being genocidally deported from Myanmar, and her support of the military action to do that. But domestically, she remains incredibly popular within Myanmar. She's still a key political figure. She's the natural leader of those who oppose military rule, but she's not the only one. And I think a future Myanmar without military rule will have a much better relationship with the Rohingya community and will have a much more diverse leadership than just Aung San Suu Kyi.
Got it. All right. Good discussion. Ronan, a pleasure to have you.